Hey guys, Leah here. Thanks for visiting my channel. I am back with the August sheet load for my Catching Up with Sheetload series for 2020. I have created these cards using an older authentic paper pad called Renew, and I believe it's back from 2013. Now, this sketch originally makes 6 cards, but between my projects coming up for my 6x6 series and this sheet load, I only had a couple of sheets left in the pad, so I created 3 extra cards. So I'm going to have a total of 9 cards for this video. I have pre-stamped, pre-matted um, some of my elements. I've also cut out the leaves with my die cutting machine using the Sizzix Thinlits. What is it called? Skeleton Leaves die set. They make really nice die cuts, so I've used the same one on all of them. I've used 3 different sentiments. So each sentiment has 3 cards. One of them is from an older Hero Art stamp set called Good Thoughts, and that's the one that says sending good thoughts your way. The other 2 are a Sugar Pea Designs stamp set from a few years back. They did an exclusive stamp set for Catherine Pooler's Stamp of Approval subscription. So that's where those come from, and that's the Sending Birthday Wishes and Thank You. So these cards, I think, turned out really well for masculine type cards. The color scheme, the elements, the leaves. I just think they are perfect for masculine cards. So um, I've created 9 of them. I think that's great. They the colors are like the paper is very distressed. So it's, there's a teal color in there, but it's not a bright teal or aqua, if you want to call it that color. It's not a bright color. Um, it's distressed, and the yellow is also very much distressed, so it's not a bright, it's more of a grungy. The curved chevrons, even the paper with a little bit of florals on it, it's not too much florals, and it's also distressed. So even though there's a little tiny bit of, tiny little florals, it still lends itself to a masculine card. So I've had to speed this video up because it did turn out longer than I had intended. I also went about putting them together a little odd. I don't know why I did that. Usually I would, put the main photo or the main card front on the card bases and then go to matting them. But this time, for some reason, I did all of this on each card at once. So it doesn't move along as quickly as it normally would for me. Not sure why I did that. I might have been a little out of sorts that day, but you can see that I'm adding the elements to the card front, including the leaf, before I actually glue it on to the card base. And I do that for each one separately. I'm not sure why. Um, I do find it easier to add my card fronts to the bases, believe it or not, when there's a white space around the panel. I have trouble lining them up when they're full-size card fronts, but for some reason I can do it easier when there's a white space around the panel. So that's how I end up doing them very um, straight. I don't know why that is. It's the space. I can measure out the space in my head, but I have trouble lining them up together. I have no idea why. So you'll see I'm adding the little strip elements to the bottom of the sentiment panels, which are also distressed with some Ranger Distress Archival ink. So, and that is in Hickory Smoke. Because the paper was so distressed to begin with, the I think the distressing on the sentiment panel just adds to it. And it's also going to tie in with the color of Nubo drops that I decided to add. So it just kind of brings it all together. Instead of being black or one of the colors, I went with a dark gray. So it just brings that distressing in together with the rest of the paper. So this is the floral paper I was talking about. It's very small. It's distressed. The yellow kind of looks like a fan motif, which is fine. It still looks masculine because it's distressed as well. These leaves cut out very well. They were very easy to, aside from all the little tiny pieces to push them out, they actually pushed out really easily. So it wasn't a big deal to get them all cut out ahead of time and pull all those little pieces out. And I love that I've curved them up a little bit. I think it adds dimension to the card without making so much dimension that it's, they'll flatten out in the envelope, but then they'll pop back up when you take them out of the envelope. So it's not going to add any thickness to the card. So I'm going to get all of these done with all of the elements put down. I do have a few more videos in this series to get caught up. I will have everything done, including December's sheet load, which hasn't been released yet. By the end of December, in fact, my last video for this series is scheduled for December 30th. So by the end, oh, and there's the I'm just showing you the back side of that panel is actually the front cover of the paper pad. So I used everything cover to cover. And one of these next ones you're going to see is actually the back cover of the paper pad, because Altenew, or not Altenew, Authentique was very smart even back in 13 to print the pattern paper on the underside of the covers. So the insides of the back and front covers as well. So you actually, it's like a no waste pad of paper because you're using even the front and back covers. So after this series, I will be putting out a series about using 6x6 paper pads in my 12x12 layouts. And that is something that I'm learning how to do, along with a lot of other things I'm learning with scrapbooking. So it's basically come and learn with me as I go, or if you don't, if you already know these things, then join me for the ride. See how I do with learning how to use these elements. And yeah, so that'll be starting after this series is done. So that'll start in January. And so I'm adding the last one here. When I'm done with this one, I'm going to take those strips up top and add them to the inside of my cards just for an extra element. If you're interested in playing along with the Sheetload of Cards, Call Me Crafty Al on YouTube is the genius behind the Sheetload of Sketches, or Sheetload of Card Sketches, I should say. And you can find her channel on YouTube, and here's the back of that paper pad. And you have to watch her videos to find out how to get your hands on these printables for the sketches for Sheetload. This one in particular is the special edition. Use your 6x6 paper pad, which I really enjoyed because I have a plethora of 6x6 paper pads. Being a card maker for a number of years, I focus primarily on 6x6 paper pads, so I have many, many paper pads. And I'm trying to use them up. So I'm trying to get through my 6x6 paper pads. A lot of them are older pads. I'm okay with that. They are still gorgeous and relevant, and it just, I have no room to buy more, so I need to use them up. You'll find in the sheetload of card sketches that Alicia makes it very easy to produce these cards because she tells you how many pattern papers you need, how many sheets of cardstock you need, how many cards you're going to make. She gives you the dimension for each and every piece that you have to cut. So it's super easy to get them all cut and all put together. And you can make 9 cards like I did here, and I actually made these in 25 minutes. Now, granted, I did have a pre-cut, did my die cutting ahead of time, stamped my sentiment, but even still, you can do 9 cards in under an hour. I've sped it up, obviously, for video editing's sake, but it all works really well. And the sheet load is a great way to produce a set of cards that are similar but not totally identical. And you can change them up. She gives you ideas, alternatives to use, other ways to use the sketch, such as, shifting things around, adding things to it. So I just find them a lot of fun to create, but at the same time, very helpful in producing more than one card at a time. And it's nice to have a set of cards. You can give the whole set of cards as a gift, and that makes, gift giving very personal. So I'm going to add Nuvo drops. This is the vintage drops from Nuvo in Earl Grey. I think I may have mentioned this before, the Nuvo drops, although the vintage ones, I really love the colors. They're not my favorite. I find them very stiff, very hard to push out of the bottle. Whereas the normal crystal drops are very smooth and easy to use. So I add 3 drops to each one, and you'll see me tapping it on my desk, and that's just to get rid of those peaks and that, from putting the drops on the page, you end up sometimes with peaks. But I will say that these drops, these vintage drops in particular, tend to pull their peaks back in. I know that sounds really funny, but it's it's like they suck the peaks back in. But I do tap them just to, flatten everything out just a little bit. Um, and they turn out really, really well. The other thing I've noticed about Nuvo drops is up here where I am, they tend to never totally solid up. So I have to leave them out before, like for days to solid up before I can stack them on top of each other because they'll flatten each other out. I don't know why that is. It's not a particularly humid climate. We are on Lake Superior, so we do have a little bit more humidity, but not extreme. So I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, that's just one of my personal observations. And you'll see me, I was fiddling around on the right-hand side because in trying to push those drops out, the whole top came off. And just off screen, I have a mess of vintage Nuvo drop in Earl Grey to clean up when I'm done here. So there are 9 of my August 2020 sheet load cards, and I'll leave a link down below. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.